Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Verdi's La Traviata with once again conductor Einar Schubikius, which I saw at the Komische Oper Berlin. This marks the second time I saw this particular production of Nicola Raab's La Traviata by Giuseppe Verdi because I wanted to see Vera-Lotte Böcker, Alexei Nekliudov, and Giuseppe Altomare, respectively in the roles of Violetta, Alfredo, and Giorgio Germont. Now let's start off with Vera-Lotte Böcker as Violetta because this was her evening. This was her time to shine even though she contracted a cold. She still managed to be quite the trooper as I saw her career go from strength to strength. From the first time I saw her as Eudoxie to the second time I saw her as Pamina to seeing her recent endeavor as Violetta, I was completely floored by her performance. She managed to grow in a way that left my jaw dropped on the floor in terms of how much she was able to give the goods as this tragically iconic courtesan. She managed to grow in terms of her chest tones becoming a little bit more fuller, in terms of the high notes becoming a lot clearer, and of course, her silvery coloratura soprano voice growing in sheen and a fair amount of power. Even though she did not end up hitting that high E flat before wrapping Sempre Libera up, I still have to give her mad props for everything she had to accomplish as Violetta. Because this was her evening, she went at this role all guns blazing and she held nothing back. Sure, her voice could be a lot fuller, a lot richer, and gain a lot more dimension if she can also do herself the favor of lowering her larynx a lot more, opening the pharyngeal space a lot more, and of course ensure that her chest tones are still as full and rich as ever, because who I have in my ears when it comes to Violetta Valeri are the likes of Luisa Tetrazzini, Ada Sari, Eda Norenna, Nelly Melba, Amelita Gai-Curci, and of course, Anna Moffo and Ileana Kotrubash, because those sopranos not only had the high notes, but also the flawless coloratura and a lot of great chest, especially in Addio del Passato. She could do herself a whole lot more good if she can beef up all those registers, ensure that her head voice and chest voice coordination are completely intact, ensure that her chest tones are a lot richer, and also ensure that the pharyngeal space is open, because what I see in Vera-Lotte Böcker is a great future in her in a lot more French and Italian roles, such as Marguerite de Valois from Les Huguenots, Antonia from Le Comte of Man, Dinora from Mayabelle's Dinora, Berthe from Le Prophète, Isabelle from Robert le Diable, Leila from Le Pêcheur de Perles, Delibes Lacmé, Mélisande from Peleas et Mélisande, Medora from Verdi's Il Corsaro, Gilda from Rigoletto, Luisa Miller, Alzira, Lucia di la Mermur, Marie from La Fille de Regiment, Francesca di Foix, La Principessa di Navarre from Gianni di Parigi, Giulietta from I Capuletti Montechi, Juliette from Romeo et Juliette, Marguerite from Faust, Mireille from Gounod's Mireille, Elvira from I Puritani, Amina from La Sonnambula, Beatrice di Tenda, Corinna from Il Viaggio a Reims, La Comtesse Adèle de Fourmetier from Le Comptory, and many other wonderful roles for a coloratura soprano specializing in French and Italian operas. Indubitably, there is a brilliant future for Vera-Lotte Böcker in those roles, and I would love to keep seeing her career develop in the right way, with the right technique, and of course, gain a lot of inspiration from the likes of Luisa Tetrazzini, Ada Sari, Eda Norenna, Zelma Kurz, Frida Hempel, Melita Heim, and many other great coloratura sopranos of many, many, many years and centuries ago. She definitely has awesome material to work with, and I do not want to see her star fading anytime soon, because this is an awesome soprano who keeps on giving the goods and has the absolutely fine technique to prove it in spades, and even with flying colors at that. Alexia Nekhlyudov was a rather decent Alfredo Germont. Sure, he did have sufficient passion. Yes, he did have a fine stage presence, and I could definitely hear a lot of potential in his voice to keep on growing in the lyric tenor repertoire. However, I have in my ears a lot of great Alfredos of the past, and those include the likes of Rudolf Schock, Richard Taube, Gianni Raimondi, Luciano Pavarotti, and even Neil Shikoff and Jerry Hadley, because their singing was not only pharyngeal, but also heart-wrenching and absolutely breathtaking in terms of everything they did to fill the theater. With Mr. Nekhlyudov, yes, he did have sufficient voice, but I felt like it didn't really excite me so much. I felt like it lacked a lot more bite. I felt like it lacked in a certain participation in the chest tones, and I felt like there was something kind of missing in his voice that could have given it its extra volume. And I'm pretty sure that if he were to sing a lot more in the pharynx, keep that pharynx open, and keep on ensuring that there is head voice and chest voice participation and coordination, I'm pretty sure that he will be a whole lot better, because I could definitely see a fine future for him. He does have a good tone. He does have a lovely sound, but it's not really enough to really carry itself all throughout the orchestra, and I did feel that he was kind of dwarfed by the likes of Vera-Lotte Böcker as Violetta, and of course Giuseppe Altomare as Giorgio Germont, who I will gladly talk about much later. Nevertheless, Alexia Nekhlyudov shows a lot of promise and potential to keep on growing. So long as he ends up developing in the right way, he will definitely be a lot finer in everything he will accomplish. Giuseppe Altomare was indubitably the absolute star as Giorgio Germont. I have been praying for many years to hear a legitimately dark, rich-voiced, and virile baritone take on this role, and he did just that and more. I first saw him 6 years ago perform the role of Filippo from Bellini's Beatrice di Tenda at the Concerthaus am Gendarmenmarkt, and I thought he was absolutely wonderful in that role. This time, he went at it all guns blazing with a full, rich tone, which had that darkness and virility I love in many a dramatic baritone. And of course, he definitely had a lot of pharyngeal space to work with. Every time I heard his voice, he kind of reminded me of a lot of the great Italian baritones of the past, who had true, rich, deep, virile voices that could leave me at the edge of my seat. He did just that. And for that, I salute him for everything he accomplished as Giorgio Germont. Returning in the smaller roles were the likes of Marta Mika's gorgeous and lovely Flora Bervois, Karen von Oyen's maternal and absolutely sympathetic Anina, Ivan Turcic's characterful and lively Gastone, Daniel Foki's dashing Barone du Fol, Karsten Zabrowski's equally virile Marchesa d'Aubigny, Philip Meyerhofer's sympathetic and rather rich-toned Dottore Grenville, Alexander Fedorov's charming Giuseppe, and Jung Dai Park's virile and handsomely toned commissioner. So overall, the singing, especially from the leads, was absolutely amazing. Even though there was rather decent singing to be found in Alexia Nekhlyudov's Alfredo, which did show a lot of potential to keep on growing, there was excellent singing to be found in Vera-Lotte Böcker as Violetta and Giuseppe Altomare as Giorgio Germont. Out of these three main players, these two were the ones that shone like the brightest of stars, especially Vera-Lotte Böcker, who even though she had a cold, managed to be the trooper that she was and still managed to keep the show on the weight of her shoulders and also do so in a way that made her shine like the brightest of stars and also displayed just how professional she was as a singing actress. The conducting done by Einar Schubickis was a lot better this time. It also had a lot more briskness. There was a lot more excitement going on with how he led the orchestra. And of course, the chorus and orchestra of the Komische Oper Berlin were absolutely amazing all the way through. So overall, with some wonderful singing to be found in Vera-Lotte Böcker, Alexei Nekhlyodov, and Giuseppe Altomare, plus some equally fine singing from all the supporting players, and some great conducting done by Einar Schubickis, tonight's performance of La Traviata was an absolute blast, especially with 3 strong performances from Vera-Lotte Böcker, Alexei Nekhlyodov, and Giuseppe Altomare. And for those of you who watched this particular performance of La Traviata at the Komische Oper Berlin, what did you think of it? Do you feel that Vera-Lotte Böcker and Giuseppe Altomare stole the show as Violetta and Giorgio Germont respectively? Did you also feel that Alexei Nekhlyodov was rather decent as Alfredo and could be a whole lot better? Or did you feel like the singing was not really up to par? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Do also tune in to my review, hopefully, of Tchaikovsky's Pique Dame, or the Queen of Spades, live from the Metropolitan Opera House, starring Lisa Davidson as Lisa and Yusuf Evazov as German or Herman. So until then, good night everybody and happy holidays!